On today's episode,
There's lots to discuss today. We've been missing for quite some time, so a lot of matches that needs to be discussed. The Champions League, the Premier League coming to an end, the Champions League final around the corner. Lots happening in the world of football, especially in Europe. Exciting times.
Red Devils fans, welcome to episode 9 of the Madras United podcast. I am your host Sanjay, and joining me as always is my friend and co host Desmond. Tonight, we are breaking down those key games against Leeds, Chelsea, and Brentford, the huge Liverpool win, and United's Champions League qualification, and how the new format of the Champions League looks. Also, we're taking a close look at the Champions League finalists from this season and how the Premier League title race is shaping up. Lots to discuss. Let's get into it. Desmond, how have you been?
Hey, Sanjay. Hello, everyone. I'm doing well. Thank you. Hope you are too. Let's take this forward with a productive discussion, specifically around United, what we are going to look forward to end of the season. Will Carrick stay next season? What's in store? What are the transfers, etc. But I think we're only going to discuss about some of the key points in the league from the games that we have at hand, and also the Champions League games that are left. So I think these would be the main topics of discussion. But I'm looking forward to going through all of those with you, Sanjay. So let's quickly start off with United facing Leeds, Chelsea, and Brentford. Why don't you walk us through an overview of what happened?
Definitely. I'll start off with the game against Leeds United. This was week 32. We were playing Leeds at home, and we were expected to win this game given our form, given how we've been performing. But we also need to consider that we were playing after a 24-day break
Yeah, yeah.
because the teams had in between gone for some international games. So that was a long break. I know we've discussed in the previous episodes as to what this break can do. This can
Hmm.
either help the team or it can break the momentum. And looks like it did break the momentum because we were on the back foot right from the beginning. Leeds scored first and took the lead. They scored in the 5th and 29th minute through Noah Okafor. The first goal was from headed clearance that Lenny Yoro was trying, but it fell right at the feet of Noah Okafor, who just had to put it in. And the second goal came from a defensive error. Playing out from the back has not been helping United.
Mhm. Mm.
We've been trying that, and I know you will pick that up in the game against Liverpool as well.
Yeah.
But this is where it started, a mistake that led to Okafor scoring the second. Leeds, in fact, should have made it 3-0. Tanaka had a good opportunity again from a defensive error from United. Should have
Hmm.
scored, almost scored, except for Lisandro Martinez to clear it off the goal line. Then, in the second half, in the 56th minute, while in open play, the referee stopped. VAR intervened. None of us knew what was happening, but we had to look
Hmm.
at the replays and then see that Martinez was sent off for a pull of hair on Dominic Calvert-Lewin. It was a very surprising decision because if you look at it, you could see that Dominic Calvert-Lewin was shrugging off Martinez. His hand was in his face. Martinez was just trying to get some balance
Yeah,
when he
exactly.
was in the air, and
Hmm.
he kind of held on to Calvert Lewin's hair. I wouldn't say that was a foul. I wouldn't say it was intentional, but
Yeah.
not sure what VAR were looking at, not sure what the referee was looking at, but that kind of changed the momentum because United started the second half well, and down to 10 men, it was very difficult to come back from there.
Hmm. Hmm.
Though we did pull one goal back, Casemiro scored in the 69th minute from a Bruno assist. We had a couple of chances after that. Benjamin Šeško had a header that was cleared. Casemiro had a header that was cleared from the goal line, but
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
ended in a 2-1 defeat for United.
Yeah, yeah. The
Ne-
hair
Mhm.
pull was just like you said. It wasn't intentional, and it's only the hairband that came off when he held on to Calvert Lewin's hair. And remember when we spoke about this match in specific about Leeds, the build up to the remaining games when we spoke about it a couple of episodes back, we spoke about how the Leeds game being an opportunity for us to pick all 3 points up, but it wasn't the case. We thought Leeds was going to be the easiest of the rest of the fixtures that we had. But unfortunately, because you also mentioned that we had, right, a 24-day break,
Correct.
the, the team was not prepared, I should say, for such an intense game from Leeds. We ended up losing that game. So yeah, I was just going back to that point where we thought Leeds was going to be easy for us, but it wasn't. I think that the red card was never a red card. It wasn't a proper hair pull. It should not have been given. Maybe if
Right.
Martinez was still there, we could have done something better. But yeah, unfortunate with that Leeds game.
Right. So that has been the story of United season so far, where we've
Hmm.
been dropping points where we are expected to get them. And we've
Yeah,
been picking up points against some of the tough opponents like Arsenal and City, those games where you would not back United to pick those points, they've gone ahead and
yeah,
picked
yeah,
it. So it's a story of what could have been had we picked up all those points which we
yeah.
were expecting to, then probably the outcome would be very, very different.
Mm,
But
mm,
uh, again, given where we are currently versus where we were 6 months ago, I don't think we should be complaining
yeah,
much.
definitely.
Next up in our roundup of games was the game against Chelsea, where we were playing away. I would say the 3 points that we got from this match are very, very lucky. I just cannot count the number of chances that Chelsea had, starting off with Enzo Fernandez missing in the first half. He dispossessed Mazraoui and then just shot wide across Lamens. Lamens couldn't reach there, but it was just away from the post. And then there was this chance from Liam Delap in the second half where he hit the crossbar from a header, and
Yep.
then you also had Mazraoui's header, which almost became an own goal from a Fofana header. That also hit the crossbar. So a lot of chances, a lot of goals that could have been for Chelsea. But then we did get the breakthrough in the 43rd minute. A good play that we had. Mbumo starting it, passing it on to Bruno Fernandes, and Bruno coming up with his 18th assist of the season,
Mm,
finding Matthew, who scored his eighth goal of the season. So a great finish. Matheus Cunha had a good chance earlier, but a bad first touch ensured that he couldn't score. But this was a first time finish that we had. 1-0 is how the game ended, and a good 3 points that we got on the road. Next up, we faced Brentford at home. This was week 34. Started off well. In the first few minutes, Menu had a great game. Menu started off with a great play, almost came up with the assist of the season. He weaved his way through the Brentford
yeah,
defense, laid it on a platter for Ahmad. Ahmad just had to put it in. He had to shoot either towards the left or the right of the defender, but shot straight at the defender.
yeah,
And Menu was visibly very, very disappointed and frustrated. Then Maguire also almost scored the opener. He had a header that was cleared from the goal line by the goalkeeper Kelleher. We had the goal line technology that came into play. We saw that I would say about 80% of the ball was
yeah.
inside, but then Kelleher just pushed it out. And yeah, Maguire came up with the assist a few minutes later. His header towards the far end, put in by Casemiro, who came up with the ninth goal of the season for him. And then talking about the defense, Aiden Heaven has been the rock of the defense. He came up with some pinpoint challenges. If you
Mm,
look at these challenges, if it was a second late, it would be a penalty that would have been given, but then
exactly.
great clearances.
This was his challenge on Igor Thiago, the forward
Correct,
talking about. Yeah,
correct,
that was
correct.
just inch perfect challenge. I think it was slightly towards the left or the right. I think he would have brought the forward down immediately, and the referee would have pointed to the spot straight away. So yeah, spot.
Correct. And if I'm not wrong, Thiago had a good chance earlier as well, which
Hmm.
he fluffed. Should have shot earlier, fluffed his lines and couldn't convert it. And then Sheshko made it nil in the 43rd minute. Started off with an Ahmad challenge that came in the United half, well
Mm,
into United half. From there, Bruno picks it up, races forward. He has Mbumo on the right, Sheshko on the left. As Bruno has done all season, he weaves around, takes the defenders the wrong way, almost passes to Mbumo because Mbumo has acres of open space. I was expecting him to pass to Mbumo, but then he cuts in, puts it across to Sheshko. Sheshko doesn't shoot first time. Cool and calm finish, brings it in past the defender and then shoots past the goalkeeper. So a great, great finish could have been anyone's goal. Bruno
mm,
could have shot himself, but then he came up with his 19th assist of the season, and he's just 2 assists away from becoming the all-time highest assist maker in the Premier League. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, no, I was just going to talk about Bruno's brilliance. So we've been waxing lyrical about him all through the season, but the decision making is what you need to watch out for. Again, in this instance, for the assist for Sheshko's goal, like you said, Mbumo was on the right with acres of space, and there's two defenders slightly tilted towards Mbumo. So had the pass gone the other way, the defenders would have tried something to try and cut that goal out. So he waited until the last moment and then put it across to Shesko. And Shesko, again, he didn't shoot straight away. He just waited, did a feint, and then scored after that. So that was actually brilliant. All
Mhm.
credit to Bruno. If it wasn't for Bruno, I don't think so we would have scored that goal. It was just out of this world.
Absolutely. It reminds me of the assist to Mbumo in the
Yeah,
game
yeah.
against City.
Hmm.
So a similar kind
Yeah,
of
same.
play. We were like, it's a break that we have. We run across. He weaves across and then puts it for the striker. With this goal, Sheshko gets into double digits for the season. Good signing. We've spoken about our signings. We've spoken about how Sheshko has been. Has he been effective starting the game or has he been effective coming off the bench? But
Yeah.
uh, good thing is that he gets into double digits. We've also seen our other strikers, Mbumo and Cunha scoring. We've seen Bruno Fernandes himself scoring, Casemiro scoring. So
Yeah.
we've not had that one striker who's gone on to score 30 goals or 35 goals, but
Hmm.
we've had multiple players who brought up that magic number. That's great because even if one striker has an off day, we have someone else who puts his hand up and scores. So a good all round effort from United this season in terms of scoring goals.
Hmm.
So yeah, so that made it 2-0. Should have ended that way. We should have had another clean sheet, but then Matthias Jensen comes up with a good long range shot in the 87th minute. No one is expecting that clean strike that ends at the back of the net. So 2-1 is how that ended, and a good 3 points that we had, which took us to the third place in the table. Next up, we had a very, very important game against Liverpool. I'll let you walk us through that.
Well, where do I start, Sanjay? So this is like the most awaited clash of this season. It was a quintessential Premier League thriller at Old Trafford. We came out 3-2 victors, not only secured our return to the Champions League, but also marked, the first league double over Liverpool in over a decade. That's so satisfying to hear because we've been thrashed left, right, and center by Liverpool all these years, and we've not been able to do the double over them. I think, although it wasn't a dominant display over the two legs, when we played Liverpool at Anfield and even at Old Trafford, it was so satisfying to beat your arch rivals twice in the league. So that was the highlight of these two games. But yeah, talking about the United versus Liverpool game in specific at Old Trafford, I think if you look at the first half, that's where we won it, Sanjay. So we started off with this high intensity, high press that caught Liverpool off guard. Matheus Cunha opened the scoring with a deflected strike from Alexis McAllister, followed shortly
Mm.
by Benjamin Sheshko's bundling in a second goal. I think here, tactically, Michael Carrick got everything right. What he got Harry Maguire and Aiden Heaven to do is to bypass the Liverpool's front line. So that kind of helped Diogo Dalot and the fullbacks to try and push high up and kind of isolate the Liverpool fullbacks far and wide. So at 2-0, we looked entirely in control in the first half, while Liverpool were struggling to find rhythm without a
Mhm, mhm,
recognized striker due to injury. You should uh, you should note that Liverpool were without Mo Salah, without Hugo Ekitike, and without Isak. So it was a makeshift attack, but I think they still had the potential to score. So you have Dominic Soboslai, you have Cody Gakpo, and Florian Wirtz, and they kind of like how United do with the front three of Ahmad when Ahmad, Cunha, and Mbumo play. They kind of rotate amongst themselves with Words coming in central and then moving out wide. In the second half, he moved out wide and they brought in Cody Gakpo in a central role. So it was pretty dynamic, and they still had the potential to score. But I think in the first half they were kind of toothless. That's where we caught Liverpool off guard with the high press. I think Liverpool wouldn't have expected that from United. They would have
mhm.
expected us to give possession across to Liverpool and try and sit back and defend and break on the counter. It wasn't that case. We were going at it equally versus Liverpool, and we're trying for chances. I think that's how the goals came through. So if you look at the first goal, it came from a corner directly where Mbomo put in a cross, bounced off the defenders within the box, came out to Cunha. Cunha belts the first one across, it bounces back again, and then he finds that shot. Of course, it wasn't intended to go in, but because it took a deflection, it went slightly towards the right of the goalkeeper and into the goal. So that was definitely a luck for us. But I think we made it very, very clear right from the get go that we wanted to go toe to toe with Liverpool and attack. I think that's what won us the game. And unfortunately for us, it ended in the first half. Had we
Mhm.
maintained the same momentum in the second half as well, we could have gone on to score maybe one or two goals more. But I think Carrick planned to switch tactics in the second half, where he wanted to sit back and defend and allow Liverpool to come at the United defense. So that's the second half flip that happened. So that brought in
Mhm.
Liverpool's fight back. So what Slot does here is to make them look like a different team altogether. That's why I mentioned about Cody Gakpo becoming more central, Florian Wirtz getting pushed out left. So this tactical tweak combined with two catastrophic defensive errors from us
Mhm.
leveled the game within 11 minutes of the restart. So you had 47th minute, you had Soboslai capitalizing on Ahmad's giveaway. Ahmad just had come in on as a substitute, and then the 56th minute pass from Senna Lomans. I know we've been praising Senna Lomans for the good work that he's been doing, but this was a one-off mistake,
Mhm.
and he was trying to pass the ball back to Casemiro, but was intercepted by McAllister, setting up Gakpo for the open net equalizer. So two mistakes in quick succession saw Liverpool drawing level with United, and it was
Mhm.
jittery after that. I mean, literally didn't want to see United lose or this becoming a draw because the win was very, very important for us for Champions League qualification, for the top three qualification, for United to do the double over Liverpool, for that confidence. For all that, I didn't want United to lose or to come out with a draw. And rightly so, that moment came when Kobe Menu changed the game. The game was kind of stretched with both teams going at each other. It was more like a basketball game, back and forth. And then Kobe Minu stepped up. 10th minute, he beat Soboslai to a loose ball just outside the box, unleashed this powerful shot from the edge, and that went straight into the bottom right corner. So United, after this, they kind of transitioned into a deep defensive block, mostly with the entire team
Mhm.
trying to defend. That's how it was towards the end. But I think this moment of brilliance from Menu was just, outstanding. Good that he capitalized on that rebound from the defense and ran in just to belt the ball into the goal. I think it was instinctive, a brilliant goal from him. A special mention to Kobe Minu, actually. He was just running the midfield along with Casemiro. I should say, definitely won the midfield battle here in this game, except maybe for those two defensive errors. But it didn't come from either Menu or from Casemiro, but I think we did really, really well. Kobe's game has improved drastically, improved
Mhm.
so well under Carrick. He's no longer that substitute who's sitting on the bench and not coming on or trying to impact the game. Carrick trusts him a lot, and he's given him the freedom to roam in midfield. You can see him playing with a lot of confidence. That's what has been helping us. If we can only find a perfect partner for him in a defensive midfielder when Casemiro leaves, I think we'd be able to dominate midfield again next year. Hopefully, maybe a couple of midfielders. That's my take. So it was a Nano moment. So let's look at the talking points here from this game. I think the Carrick effect that we've been talking about throughout this podcast, how it's changed thing for us, and him getting the permanent job, which we will discuss at length in the coming episodes. But I think when he was brought in as the interim manager, we wouldn't have thought of United doing such a U-turn and doing a comeback because we were
Absolutely.
in a free fall, right? So
Right.
state wins against City, Arsenal, we did the double over Liverpool. Is there any reason not to give him the job permanently? I don't think so. But we're looking forward to that discussion as well. I want to go through that in detail, but that's for the next episode. Michael Carrick's tactical flexibility. So if you looked at him, his tactics mainly revolves around the high press and then going into a deep block to try and defend. So we've seen that in a lot of games. I think that's his tactics that he wants to implement. And maybe in a few games we've sat back and we've defended completely. Maybe we did that against Man City and Arsenal, but predominantly it's the high press. Even
Mhm.
when we started against City, that's what we saw, right? If not for the entire game, it was a bit of a high press that we did. That's where City committed a lot of mistakes. The tactical flexibility is what we're seeing as a positive from Carrick. Let's see if he's able to deliver this long term at an elite level. So that's very, very important. And Champions League qualification secured already, mathematically giving us the seat in Europe in Europe's elite competition. Was this resurrection due to a lot of the signings in January last year? Cunha, Chesko have kind of changed everything for United, especially in terms of goals. Mbomo too, to an extent, but I think it's mostly between Cunha and Chesko,
Mhm.
right? Chesko, you spoke about Chesko coming off the bench or even starting as well. So he's crossed the 10 goal mark. He's doing double digits right now, which is brilliant. So we need to look at that. In this game in specific, Liverpool had like a tactical identity crisis without a natural number nine, which I mentioned earlier. They kind of looked
Mhm.
toothless in the first half, but became dominant when the game became a transitional, towards the second half. That's what I saw as a change, a shift that happened. I think another point for debate is the fact that you mentioned previously, Sanjay. It wasn't in the podcast. It was during one of our offline conversations. You mentioned, did Liverpool rely too much on chaos? They scored off two errors from United. It wasn't like a
Yeah,
creative effort from them. It was
exactly.
as if we gifted the goal to them and said, please go ahead and score. So that's something to ponder for Liverpool as well. And I think when they're building up their team next season, this is something that Arne Slot will be looking into. So similar to our midfield, they need an overhaul too. So that's for them to worry about. But
Sometimes these numbers and the results are very deceptive. They don't tell you the complete story, right?
exactly,
So
exactly.
3-2 on paper looks like a very close game, but what we need to see there is that these two goals, like you rightly mentioned, we gifted them to
Hmm.
Liverpool. But I had one question. The second goal that United scored, Sheshko, there was a lot of talk, controversy, whether it was a handball. I wanted to
Oh
get
yeah.
your thoughts on that.
Well, if you look at it technically, I wouldn't call it handball. I'll call it finger ball because because it literally came off Chesko's fingernails. There was a zoom in from VAR
Yeah,
to
you
look
should
at
probably call it nail ball. It wasn't even the tip of the fingers. It was more like the nails. But
the
I saw
nails.
how Arne Slot was kind of explaining the physics part of it. He was trying to explain how the ball would rotate and how it changes when it touches the hand. So a lot of speculation is what I would say. We didn't have any conclusive evidence to call out whether
Hmm.
it was a goal or not. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Your thoughts.
No, no, I mean, we were given the benefit of the doubt. VAR did a zoom in to see what sort of deflection they could identify on the screen. And there's not much that you could get off VAR. So they went ahead and awarded the goal to us, and rightly so, gave us the benefit of the doubt. But if you look, but after that, you have all these people trying to zoom in more and put in a magnifying glass on that ball, and then you could see that it kind of scraped his finger a bit, and then there was a slight
Yeah.
movement. Apart from that, I don't think so. There's much, but yeah, it was awarded to us. But would we have said the same thing if this was for Liverpool? I don't think so. uh, so that's up for debate. But yeah, I think we were lucky enough. It didn't hit any part of his
Okay.
arm. It was just finger, and then
Mhm.
it was the goal. Like the Maradona hand of God, it was the finger of God for Benjamin Sesko
Was going to say it wasn't as evident as Maradona's or Messi's goal or even Thierry Henry's goal when he scored for France.
against
But
Ireland.
the other
Well,
point I wanted to
sorry. The Thierry Henry's was an assist, not a goal. He pushed the ball with his left hand for someone else to score. It
okay,
was with
my
Ireland.
bad,
Yeah.
but it wasn't such a very evident assist or handling of the ball, if I could say.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah,
then,
definitely.
yeah. The other point I wanted to speak to you about is the second goal. I know both the goals came off defensive errors. The first,
Hmm.
I understand it was miss pass, which which Szoboszlai took advantage of. But the
Hmm.
second goal came off a similar defensive error like what we were speaking about earlier,
Hmm.
right,
Hmm.
against Leeds. It starts from the back. We are not able to build up play from the goalkeeper. We committed that error again, which led to the
Hmm.
goal. Where do
Yeah.
you think we are faltering?
Lomans is not a keeper who's suitable for this style of play. If you want to build from the back, you need a keeper for that game.
Mhm.
And if you need Lomans to adapt, then he needs time. You have to train him, you have to coach him on that, and then it will only come with practice. So, of course, Lomans wasn't prepared for that. And I'm not sure what the instructions were that they should build up from the back, because if you sprain all those long balls, then Liverpool
Mhm.
are going to get the possession straight away. There'll be aerial duels, and you have a 50-50 chance of Liverpool getting the possession. So maybe Carrick thought that we should build from the back and then delay things a bit. and draw Liverpool into United's half. It was a risky game, but I think we paid the price. So it's down to nerves for Lomans and him not being a goalkeeper suitable for this style of play. So I think Carrick should give it a second thought. Definitely.
Is it just on Lomans, or do we not have the right defensive structure for this play? Because Diogo Dalot is not someone who is very confident or
Hmm.
will be able to handle this. Do we have the defensive structure for this kind of play?
We don't actually. We don't have proper ball playing centre backs, Sanjay.
Mhm.
So you need centre backs who can receive the ball with confidence from the keeper and drive forward and make those passes either to the left or the right on the flanks or through midfield. Make those passes. I think Martinez can do that a bit, but I don't see anyone else apart from Martinez who can. Maguire to an extent, but he's not very confident on the ball. Sometimes he can drive with a bit of pace into midfield, but the pass after that may not be inch perfect. He may not make those defense splitting passes into the opposition. But I think Martinez does that well. He is definitely a ball playing centre back. If you have someone similar to that, and you if you have a backline who's like that, then you can definitely come up with the ball being played out from the goalkeeper into the defense, into midfield, etc.
Mhm.
So you need a team, you need the entire team to be coached according to that, especially the backline and the midfield and the goalkeeper. The forward can be exempted from that because it's coming in from the back. So goalkeeper and defense to start off with, and then the midfield who can receive the ball. It's a collective effort. It has to be drilled into
Mm.
the team.
Okay.
Back to the Liverpool game, I think the final verdict, although Liverpool had about 64% of the possession and United 36, we were definitely lethal on the counter. We've done the double on them after 10 years, I should say.
Right.
So when this game started, no one expected United to lose. We all
Mhm.
expected a win, or, you know, at the worst case scenario, it could have been a draw had Kobe Mino not given us the victory, the one
Mhm.
goal at the end. But I think we were pretty confident enough, and the game turned out to be that way too.
One final question I had on the Liverpool game in overall in terms of Liverpool, and I know you don't like me putting you on the spot, but
Hmm.
just as you were discussing, one key figure in the Liverpool lineup who has had a relatively quiet season, who you
Hmm.
haven't heard much, is their captain Virgil van Dijk.
Oh, yeah.
What has happened? Probably in the last few seasons, you've heard a lot about him, that he's a pillar in terms of defense,
Hmm.
leading from the front. He was the rock. But this season, he's been very quiet. I haven't seen those goals coming in from him. I haven't seen that leadership coming from him. What has happened?
There's a few things that you need to consider when it's Virgil van Dijk. One is his
Mhm.
age. He's past his prime. He's in his
Mhm.
30s right now, so that's definitely a factor. And I think under Klopp, it was a different team altogether, and they are currently in transition. Last season was just a team that Klopp had left, and they were still in their prime, so they were able to get the title. This time
Mhm.
around, they've lost the mojo, I should say, and so has Virgil van Dijk. At least in the last two seasons, I should say, Sanjay, that he's been committing a lot of mistakes. There's always been this conversation about how he's one of the best centre backs of all time. I wouldn't agree to that. He wouldn't even be compared to a Rio Ferdinand or a Nemanja Vidic when they were playing.
Mhm.
Of course, he's in that category, but if you ask me if he's one of the best, I would definitely say no. Because a lot of these defenders, even well into their 30s, look at the Italian defenders, Bonucci and the other defenders as well, even the defenders from the past. When they were past their 30s, they excelled at defense.
Mhm.
That was a trait that they had. Of course,
Right.
the Italian football is known for its defensive style of play. They concentrate a lot on defending and all that. But if you have to put Virgil van Dijk in the top 10, I'm pretty sure he ranks in the bottom half. Of course, he's in the
Mhm.
top 10 defenders, but in the second half of that list. So coming back to his form, I think it's dipped a lot. Age catching up. He hasn't got the legs like before. Of course, he's got the physical presence and he comes good in set pieces and all that. But I think he's past his prime, and that's the main reason. And if you want to be in top form, you have to change your game a bit. You don't have the same pace as before. You have to adjust, tactically. You have to change your game. You can't run as much, like you did in the past, etc. Fitness is also another point. So lots of factors. So I think that's what is caught up with Virgil van Dijk, and we also don't mention about another player, part of the Liverpool team, who has just been brushed under the carpet. It's Florian Wirtz, who's come in for 100 million plus, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, coming in from Bayer Leverkusen, touted to be one of the best number tens. He was doing wonders at Bayer, but coming into Liverpool, there was so much of expectations, but he's just gone into radio silence. There's not much of impact that he creates. Bright spark here and there, but not much from him. These people, all these pundits and these ex-players, they don't talk about all this. If United have a player who's 100 million plus and he's not performing, everyone is ready to pounce. But players like these just go unnoticed, Sanjay. That's not fair, to be honest. They shouldn't have let go. They maybe should have held on to them for a couple more seasons, made some more signings, increased the size of the squad, but held on to those players. But you should understand that Liverpool is a club that has to sell in order to buy. They're not a club who can splash the cash and just go for anyone like a Chelsea who spent what? I don't know how much they've spent, like 4 or 5 billion in the last 5 6 years. So they're not a club like that. They're not a club like City who can splash the cash. So they're a club who have to sell in order to buy and to make that squad. And they have a pretty compact and small squad. So if you have to consider that and taking finances into account, I think that's where the sale would have made more sense for Liverpool. But they lost some great players. Sadio Mane won them the Champions League, single-handedly, and Salah gave them all the goals that they needed. Firmino, a lot of assists, both from Sadio Mane and from Firmino, but great players. They shouldn't have let them go. But if you look at Liverpool as a club, I think that would have made sense for them. Back to our Champions League qualification, Sanjay. I know I mentioned this a couple of times. We've qualified for Champions League already. We've cemented that. That's a cemented spot for us, and we're going to hear that anthem again next season at Old Trafford. It's going to be goosebumps standing along with the other teams in the tunnel. We'll play the likes of PSG, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, etc. But what do you think? About the Champions League qualification. We have a few more games to go. And we're talking about a third place finish as well, Sanjay. So what are your thoughts on that? Mm, 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 yeah. Mm, 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 yeah. Mm, mm, wow.
let in so many goals. That
Mm.
gives us a goal difference of plus 15. Now, if I compare that with the previous seasons, just give me a minute. I'm just looking at my notes. So, if you look at the previous season, we had a goal difference of minus 10.
Mm.
We scored only about 44 goals and
Yeah.
we let in 54 goals, right? So, and we finished 15th on the table. So, that's a huge difference. We've scored about 20 more goals and we've let in about
10
10
goals
to
later.
15, yeah, 10 goals lesser. So, that's a visible change that we've had. Like I said, the players have been picking at the right time. And I predicted this. I know we spoke about where United will finish. I told you we are going to finish third. Looks like we are going to finish third. We were speaking offline about what could go wrong. How many
Yeah.
games do we have as a buffer? So we have a
Mm.
6 point advantage over Liverpool and Aston Villa. And that gives us some breathing space. But I would be gutted if we don't go ahead and get at least six of the next 9 points that we can get. So that is huge in terms of a Champions League qualification. And I quickly wanted to also talk about the new Champions League format. It's been a couple of years since we last participated in the Champions League. So the last time we were there 2 years ago, it was the round robin format where we had four teams in each group and then we had eight groups. So that
Yeah.
was the 32 team league. But then it's changed into a 36 team league phase now, and all of them are put in one single group. But then, as one team, you will get to play against eight different opponents. And at the end of it, the teams that finish between first and eighth qualify directly for the round of 16. If you finish anywhere between the ninth and 24th places, you enter into a two-legged playoff for the remaining round of 16 spots.
Yeah.
And if you finish between 25th and 36th, you get eliminated from the competitions. It's going to be different for United. It's a new format that they'll have to adapt to. It also depends on who the opponents are going to be. It's going to be a draw. It's going to be from a lot that's going to be picked up.
Mm.
So you really have to be lucky to get favorable opponents. But like you rightly said, we're going to hear the Champions League music at Old Trafford after 2 years.
Yeah.
That's what the fans deserve. I think the team, the players, over to the fans. I'm just excited. The only thing worrying me is that it's going to be late night games. So I don't know how many games we will be able to cover, but I'm excited to cover those games. We've not had any Champions League games covered during our podcast so far. So
Yeah.
that's going to be a new entrant in the new season. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Definitely.
And speaking about Champions League, I wanted to get your thoughts on the Champions League this season. We recently had the second leg of the semifinals. As we are speaking, we know who the finalists are. Why don't
Hmm.
you give us an update on that?
Yeah. An exciting final clash between Paris Saint-Germain and Arsenal. So the 2025-2026 Champions League final is set for a historic clash. You've got the reigning champions PSG, and you've got Arsenal who've just qualified as well for the finals, happening at the Puskas Arena in Budapest on the 30th of May. So it's the tournament's most prolific attack versus, I should say, a disciplined defense with Arsenal. So the road so far to Budapest, looking at the semi-final, we had Arsenal playing Atletico Madrid, and they came out 2-1 winners on aggregate. So Arsenal have secured their Champions League final appearance, and it's been 20 years since they last played in the final. It was a masterclass in defensive resilience and patience for them. Although it wasn't convincing, but they've made it through anyway. The first leg was a tense 1-1 draw at the Wanda Metropolitano that set the stage for a high stakes return. And the second leg at the Emirates, which I happened to catch up on that particular match, they edged Atletico Madrid to a 1-0 victory. Bukayo Saka, who's the captain, scored that decisive goal just before halftime, pouncing on a rebound after Jan Oblak parried Leandro Trossard shot. It was a rebound off the keeper, and then he pounced on that and scored the goal. Despite the late pressure from Atletico Madrid and a scare from Giuliano Simeone, Diego Simeone's son, the Saliba and Gabriel partnership kind of held firm. And they've got this unbeaten spirit in them in the current European run. So they've formed a formidable defense, the both of them,
Mhm.
both in the league and in the Champions League. We'll come to a few of the statistics later, but I think Arsenal came out winners in both legs and are through to the final. But let's see how they shape up for the finals against PSG. We'll come to that. But yeah, let's quickly talk about PSG versus Bayern. This was an amazing match. I was expecting a bit of a silent first leg and then waiting to see a great clash in the second leg, but it
Okay.
became blockbuster first leg where there was 5 goals for PSG and 4 for Bayern. It became 5-4 at the end when they played
Uh-huh.
at the Parc des Princes. It was just goals end to end. And I should say in that game, although PSG were winners, I think Bayern showed who was the boss. So you had Michael Olise and you had Luis Diaz who tore Nuno Mendes and Ashraf Hakimi to shreds. They were just outclassed in the two fullback positions, and the wingers took them to the cleaners. I think in the second leg, Sanjay, Luis Enrique came up with a masterclass against these two defenders. And I think Nuno Mendes took it very personal that he should stop Michael Olise at any cost, plus
Mhm.
some tactical tweaks that happened. If you look at maybe the replay and the highlights from that game, you saw that Enrique had instructed the goalkeeper, the PSG goalkeeper, when he took goal kicks, he asked him to kick the ball far out and wide into the Bayern's half and out of bounds. And this was done willfully. You know why? Once the ball goes out of bounds and then Olise, one of the fullbacks, picks up the ball to get a throw in, and you have the entire PSG team cornering Olise with 2 or 3 markers running behind him. And they pinch the ball off him and they're into midfield immediately. So crowding that area and kind of choking him and getting possession out of him was a tactic that they followed. So you should note there were at least 26 long balls that were played out of bounds by the keeper. And this was a clear instruction given to the goalkeeper by Luis Enrique. Shows this tactical genius that Luis Enrique is. And that kind of finished the game off. So both Olise and Luis Diaz were silenced completely. In the first leg, it was Nuno Mendes and Ashraf Hakimi who are the fullbacks. This time around, it was Nuno Mendes and Warren Zaire-Emery because Hakimi was injured, and
Mhm.
they did an absolutely fantastic job on both the wingers. They took care of the wingers, and the centre backs took care of Harry Kane, and the Bayern attack was completely neutralized. And that first goal that PSG scored in the second leg kind of sealed the win for them because it took them to a 6-4 lead. Although Harry Kane pulled one back at the end in the 94th minute, I think it was too late for
Mhm.
Bayern. But yeah,
Right.
uh, a mouth-watering clash that's waiting to take place on the 30th of May. I feel that PSG will come out winners because I think they're the better team. Attack, in defense, in the midfield as well. They are reigning champions. Just looking at some of the stats for Arsenal and PSG, Arsenal have been unbeaten in 14 Champions League matches this season. Like I said, PSG are reigning holders right now. 19 sheets for Arsenal and only 6 goals conceded so far. PSG have one vulnerability in goal. That's the goalkeeper himself. Because
Mhm.
apart from that, you can't point out any other weakness in PSG. So I think Arsenal will be watching out for those set pieces because Arsenal, they're a team trained for set pieces completely. Key players for Arsenal and the Bayern, Saka, Rice and Gyökeres for Arsenal, and you've got Kvaratskhelia and Usman Dembele who've been the changers for them. But I think the team, the unit as such, they've got individual brilliance in all the players, and they are well trained and well coached unit. So they should be going on to win the Champions League. That's my prediction. And if Arsenal can come up with a miracle, I think it would be great for them. But yeah, I'm rooting for PSG, Sanjay. What about you?
I'm rooting for PSG too, but I quickly wanted to get your thoughts. Go back to the semi-finals, the
Mm-hmm.
second leg, the refereeing decisions that
Oh
left
yeah.
us all kind of scratching our heads. What was happening there?
I seriously don't know, and I can't fathom what transpired because it was clear and blatant fouls. The penalty should have been given against Joao Neves when Vitinha tried to clear the ball and he put his hand up, and the rule book says that if the ball is coming in and hit you in the arm, it's coming in from your teammate, and it doesn't count as a penalty. And the second thing was that he was facing away from goal. I don't think so that should be considered. A handball is a handball. And if that's being
Correct.
given in another match, I don't think so. The fact that it's coming in from an opponent or from your own team should not be taken into account. Nuno Mendes should have received a second yellow card for a blatant handball. His arm was away from his body. And
Mm,
during a transition, it hit his arm. He was already on a yellow card. That should have been given. And Bayern players were livid. The fans were furious. Vincent Company was shouting from the touchline. I think it was just chaos completely. And there's a couple of other fouls as well on Harry Kane, on Luis Diaz that weren't given. So I think it was very, very unfair for Bayern. Had the penalty been given against Joao Neves, it would have been a different story because they would have equalized. And, with Kane's goal coming in during the end, I think Bayern would have come out victorious. Plus, had Nuno Mendes been awarded a yellow card,
mhm.
he would have gone off, and then it would have been a one-sided game after that because by PSG would have been down to 10 men. So I think it was very, very unfair. I could see, I watched the entire match, and immediately after the final whistle, Joshua Kimmich was in the referee's face, shouting abuses at him. I think he even got a card, if I'm not wrong. Uh, Vincent Company was not convinced, and he pointed this out as well. Overall, I think PSG won the game tactically, and they had their plan in mind and that they wanted to score that initial goal and then go into a low block to try and defend, which they did. It was a masterclass from Luis Enrique, but I think with the fouls and with the red card, I think it would have been a different story altogether. But yeah, that's my take, Sanjay.
So could we safely say this was a game of two equally good teams that went one way because of the refereeing howlers?
Not equally good teams, Sanjay. The two best teams in a long, long time. I would even compare this because when you've seen Champions League matches won by Real Madrid in the past, when they won three in a trot, I think
Mhm.
at that point in time they had opponents, but they were not as good as Madrid. But I think when toe to toe, they both these teams, PSG and Bayern, I think if you look at individual brilliance and both teams as a unit, I think they were well coached, well trained, and
Right.
they had people who could deliver that individual brilliance when needed. At the same
Mhm.
time, if on the day Luis Enrique kind of edged past his opposition manager Vincent Company just because of tactical switch and a bit of a advantage. But apart from
Mhm.
that, I think both teams are pretty much equal, and they're just by far one of the best teams that I've seen in a long, long time.
I know you've become a big Michael Olise fan,
Oh
but
yeah.
I wanted to get your thoughts on how good a player Luis Diaz has become. Because we were just speaking about how people have moved on from Liverpool. Liverpool have not
Yeah.
been able to hold on to some
Mm,
great
mm,
strikers. I was surprised when Luis Diaz moved to
mm,
Bayern. But then because Bayern has had a history of some big names and for someone to move
mm,
at that stage, Luis Diaz, I wouldn't say he was one of the best strikers in the Premier League. He was good,
mm.
but then for him to transition to the Bundesliga and then transform into one of the best strikers there, how good is he?
See, there's no doubt about Luis Diaz's ability. He's one of the best wingers that we've seen in a long time. Even at Liverpool, right? He came into the
Mhm.
Premier League and adapted immediately. He was just brilliant for them. Going back to the same topic, Sanjay, as to why he was let go and what transpired, it's down to finances at the end of the day. So he, I think, was on a 150,000 per week contract, and his agent wanted to renew his contract with Liverpool and had asked for 250,000 per week, which Liverpool had denied because they didn't want to shell out more money. And then Luis Diaz was offered to Bayern, and Bayern snatched him up immediately, paying what he had asked for, £250,000 per week. To their advantage, they've got one of the best wingers in the world, and they're reaping benefits. But unfortunately, Liverpool lost him.
His agent
They
should have spoken to United. We are paying way more for players who are not as good as Luis Diaz. We could have definitely paid him 250,000 per week.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. If you look at it on the other hand, Sanjay, they went and splashed 100 plus million for Florian Wirtz. If they're
Right.
going to, look at Diaz's salary and try and see how we can cut down on the wage bill per week, I think they're bringing in a bigger player in Wirtz, and he's going to be paid definitely somewhere between 150 to 200,000 pounds per week. So I think in that sense, they lost a very good player. It's same like how they did with Mane and with Firmino.
Mhm.
They are a club who needs to sell, who need to sell in order to buy players, and that's how they can keep rotating. But they keep losing all these great players to other teams. I think if they try and retain them, maybe make some alternate arrangements, bring in some new players without having to sell. I think they should have a bigger and good squad, and they'll have people who can come off the bench and score as well. So, yeah, you were absolutely right. Luis Diaz is a beast. They shouldn't have let him go. Unlucky for Liverpool, very lucky
Mhm.
for Bayern.
And how difficult is it for someone like Luis Diaz to go into a team like Bayern Munich, where you have Harry Kane, you have
Hmm.
Michael Olise, and create a niche for himself?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure when he went into the Bayern team, he would have had that in the back of his mind that he was going to be a squad player where he comes
Mhm.
in, he could start some games, he could sit on the bench and come in. You remember you have Serge Gnabry, who's also the winger for Bayern.
Mhm.
So unfortunately for Gnabry, he's injured and he's not able to start most of the games. But I think that kind of helped Luis Diaz to stake his claim, take that place on the left wing for himself. And he's proved that he's a brilliant winger. He's definitely one of the great additions for the team. I'm pretty sure plus he's past, I think he's 28 or 29, if I'm not wrong. And he's in his prime at the moment. He maybe has a few years left in him, and he would have thought where else to try and utilize this period
Mhm.
than a big club like Bayern. So I
Right.
think that opportunity would have given him a new challenge. He would have picked it up immediately, although he knew that Bayern had all these stars in their ranks.
Mhm. Got it. And just going back to your question, right, in terms of the Champions League finalists, I just wanted to
Mm,
quickly talk about an article I was reading in one of the newspapers about how both these managers, Mikel Arteta and Luis Enrique, have brought these teams uh, from different backgrounds, right? So when Arteta arrived at Arsenal in 2019, club was very directionless, kind of lacked
mm,
structure, recruitment was very reactive, and performances were fluctuating very wildly. And
mm,
when Luis Enrique came into PSG in 2023, he had a different set of problems, right? PSG historically has been a team of great superstars.
mm,
So he had to take the team away from individual brilliance and kind
yeah.
of bring it into a cohesive unit.
Mm,
So
mm,
that's what they've done. And like you rightly mentioned, PSG's attacking ability against a very, very disciplined Arsenal. I think we have a mouth-watering finish on the cards. I'm still favoring PSG to win the Champions League, but let's see. We were discussing
mm.
offline. It's just a 90 minutes. I mean, it could be anyone's game. So
Yeah, yeah,
the one who's more uh, composed, who's very calm and tactically sticks to what the plan is one who's going to come out victors. So let's see how that goes.
yeah.
Okay, let's have a quick update. Your thoughts on how the Premier League title race is going to finish. What do you think?
So yeah, we all know it's between City and Arsenal, and it's going down to a high stakes duel between them. I was thinking in the last few matches after what happened, I maybe Arsenal will drop more points and City will go on to win the league. But it is kind of looking dicey at the moment. You never know who is going to take over, go on to win the league right now. The chances for both. Right now, I would say it's kind of fallen back into Arsenal's hands, and it's for them to lose. As of the 8th of May, which is today, they lead City by 5 points. Although City has a crucial game in hand that could close the gap to about two. Looking at the winning probability, Arsenal in first place, the chances are very high. Like I said, title is in their hands. If they win the remaining three matches, they guarantee champions, regardless of City's results. They
Hmm.
currently lead by 5 points, so that will come down to two after City catch up if they win in that
Right.
one game. And City chasing currently, they need Arsenal to slip up, win all four of the remaining games, and they would still need Arsenal to drop points at least in one match for them to overtake. So that's very, very important. I don't see Arsenal losing any of the games from now, given the current form, but you never know, anything can happen. Goal difference could be a
So
deciding
they've
factor,
got West Ham, Burnley, and Crystal Palace.
relatively easier as compared to City's run.
Mhm.
So I think Arsenal have the edge here, and
And
unless
City's recent draw against Everton is going to bite them back.
yes, exactly. I
Mhm.
hope they don't do that. City have to play Aston Villa as well. That'll be a tough game for them. I think that it's the last game of the season, if I'm not wrong, for City. So
Yeah.
that's
City have got Brentford, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, and Aston Villa.
yeah. The Crystal Palace game is the game that's in hand, an extra game for them that they have to
Mhm.
close out.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I think a slightly tougher run of fixtures for City than Arsenal. Unless Arsenal drop points in one game, they lose or
Mhm.
they draw, and then City win all four remaining. I don't see a change happening to the current tally right now. To the Premier League finish, it most probably will be Arsenal. Yeah, we've gone through the remaining fixtures. Remember, City have also got the FA Cup final against Chelsea on the 16th of May, which kind of
Mhm.
adds to their physical fatigue during the final sprint. Of course, they're not playing Champions League, but they've got these four games left, and they've also got the FA
Right.
Cup final. That'll be running in their minds as well. Chelsea will want to try and salvage something for the season because everything is going wrong for them. So they'll be up for that game too. Arsenal are the firm favorites. They don't have to rely on anyone else right now. 9 points from their final three will secure the trophy for them after a long, long time. City, notorious for perfect ends to the season so far. Any dropped points by Arsenal against West Ham or Crystal Palace would immediately shift the momentum back to the noisy neighbors. If you ask me, I would still want Arsenal to go ahead and win the league because they've been waiting for so long. Because City have been winning back-to-back titles in the last 10 years, lots of titles.
Mhm.
I don't. I want that monotony to be broken and see Arsenal lift the trophy this time around. What about you, Sanjay?
Given where we are, Arsenal look to be the favorites. It was very
Hmm.
much City's title to win, except for that draw against Everton recently. Should
Yeah.
have been three easy points and then put the
Hmm.
pressure back on Arsenal. You spoke
Yeah.
about the fatigue for Arsenal, but it boils down to man management because
Hmm.
given the three final games and then the Champions League final, it boils down to who are you going to play, who are you going to preserve for these big games because you
Hmm.
don't want a player injured for any of these key games.
Yeah.
So and also a lot rests in terms of the title because Arteta, like I said, has been at the club from 2019. They've been chasing this title. This is probably the best opportunity that they've got to lift the title. If they don't, I don't know what the future is going to be for Mikel Arteta. I think Arsenal might start looking for other options because this is what they've been fighting for and they've been very close in the last few seasons. So let's see. I think Arsenal are the title favorites as of now, but we don't know. It's a funny and that can sometimes happen with so many games happening. So let's
Yeah.
see.
Imagine Arsenal winning the title and the Champions League, Sanjay.
And their FA Cup.
Oh,
They were looking for a quartet, at least uh, three three titles. You don't
yeah.
know.
That's
So that brings us to the end of episode number 9. We had to do some catch up. We covered 4 of the United games. That brings us up to date. But a lot that we discussed today in terms of United's wins, the Champions League format, the Champions League qualification, which is great news for all United fans. And we also looked at what the Champions League the current season is and who the favorites are. So that's what we think. We will also love to hear. We would also love to hear what you think in terms of who the title winners are going to be for the Premier League and the Champions League. Do let us know. And thank you for all the subscribers who've been supporting us. And I know you've been waiting for this episode. So here it is. Looking forward to the next one. Until then, take care and bye bye.
bye for now.